Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be testing out my Nicker poster color paints. I got these a while back, it's been a couple months, but I haven't had a chance to actually try them out yet. And so I'm excited to see how they work in a painting session today. The painting I'm going to be working on today is a reference photo, not a photo I've taken. It's a reference photo of a train going over like a bridge with this really pretty water like underneath it, and I just thought it would be really cool to use with these paints just to test them out. I was excited to try out these paints because they are supposed to be re-wettable, they can reactivate with water, and that's very similar to the Holbein artist gouache, which I love to work with. And I honestly wanted to just compare how these work to the Holbein gouache because these were only, I think, 200 yen a bottle, which is super cheap in comparison. So first off, I needed to figure out what colors I was going to be using for my limited color palette. You can see that I've picked out two blues, yellow ochre, and a pink. I think those blues were ultramarine and aqua blue, if I remember right. I noticed when I first opened them up, they had kind of like a skin on top, but the inside was just normal paint, so all I had to do was mix them up. I think the Prussian blue was the worst. The binder had separated from the rest of the paint, so I just had to mix it up. It didn't take too long, and honestly, the paint seemed perfectly fine after this. I will say this was my first time using these paints, and so it might have just been that they were sitting on the shelf at the store for a while, but if you do end up getting this type of gouache, just know that you'll have to probably mix up your paints every once in a while if you aren't using them constantly. The jars are also very easy to open. I don't know if that matters to a lot of people, but I have Artex gouache in little tin cans and I can't open those at all. And so being able to reuse these jars and just know that like they're not gonna get stuck with paint is really nice. Obviously they can get stuck if you don't clean the sides, but I haven't had any problems with these. I finally finished mixing up my gouache and I'm ready to start painting. I'm first starting off the base with a light wash from my Hake brush. I've also never used this before, so I was just playing around, and honestly this brush held a lot of water. Like obviously it's supposed to do that because that's what Hake brushes are for. They're usually for watercolor. I was not expecting it to hold so much water, and you can tell later on my paper starts to buckle because of how much I have. I really liked the texture and style I was able to get with the Hake brush. It was just very nice, soft brush strokes, which I don't get a lot with my paintings. And so starting off this painting with the Hake brush, mixing the background colors, it gave it a very peaceful feeling initially. I try to keep that as I go along, but I really enjoyed this. It was very helpful for the scene I was trying to make, where the water was supposed to be a very close reflection of the sky, like there wasn't supposed to be a lot of breaks in the water. Something I noticed as I was painting this, the gouache was having a little bit of trouble blending, but it laid on top of each other really well. I think the colors I was using didn't work as well as I had hoped. That pink is a bit too fluorescent for my taste, but the more I layered, the more the colors seemed to pop. And I ended up really liking how everything looked together near the end. I will say these paints are very hard to find outside of Japan or like anywhere in America, honestly. I haven't been able to find them anywhere. Maybe they're on Amazon, but I would not spend a lot of money on these. I think at the beginning of the video I said 200 yen. I think they're actually around 200 to 400 a piece, and I got them on sale. These work very similar to the Himi gouache. It's less chalky, but I don't know, I like them a lot more than the Himi. They feel like a mix between the Himi and the Holbein. One thing I did notice was the white that I was using would make a glossy like texture on parts of the painting, and so I didn't really like that. It took away from the rest of the painting when you compared it to the more matte sections. So overall, positives and negatives with this paint. Positives, it's very easy to use. I really like the glass containers they come in. It's pretty cheap for the amount of paint you get. Obviously that's if you can find it in your area and it's not an import. The color selection seems to be pretty wide. Unfortunately, the colors I used were not that great together. There just wasn't a lot to work with for me, I feel like, and maybe like the subject matter I chose wasn't great. Negatives, I really don't like the white that I got. It makes that glossy texture. You'll see it later on. Paint can be pretty hard to mix at points. That pink did not really want to make a nice purple with the blue. And the last thing I can think of is it did have a strong odor when I first opened up the containers. It doesn't smell great, so if smells really bother you, maybe look for a different type of gouache. Eventually it went away, especially when I put it on my palette instead of using directly from the container. But again, just letting you know. And here is the final painting. I think it turned out pretty well. Again, you can see the glare coming from that white. I don't like that, but I think this would look really cute as like a postcard or like a mini print or something. And immediately after I finished this painting, I realized I did something very similar to this. The biggest difference being that that painting was done with Turner acrylic gouache. But that's the painting. I hope you guys liked this. In conclusion, I really like the poster color paints. I want to try using them again just to see if I like the other colors. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!